Hola y bienvenidos a la clase. Hi and welcome to class Spanish 1. We are going over what we did in class today. We talked about articles. In English, they're a, an, and the. All nouns, curtains, TVs, chairs, everything has a gender. In English, you don't look at a chair and say that's a female. But in Spanish, these have already been decided, when the language was developed. The good news is you don't have to try to figure it out. And when we learn the word, we're going to learn the gender with it. So for example, chair is la silla because it's female, feminine. So you would have la at the beginning, correct? The desk is el escritorio for my desk and el pupitre for your desk. And those are both masculine. So when we learn those words, the L comes with it. These are the nouns, except for the last two, that we are learning in this chapter. You will notice that I'm going to say the green part twice for you to repeat after me. Then there are some that are not highlighted. They're not highlighted because these are the extra vocab words for the Power Rangers group that wants extra and the native speakers group. La clase, la clase, la mochila, el escritorio, el libro. Okay, let's stop right there. What have you seen so far? We have two feminine, la clase, la mochila. We have el escritorio and el libro. Well, with the L's, you notice that the masculine ones, you notice that they both ended in O, correct? Well, those O's on the end are generally on the end of masculine nouns. And A's, here we see la mochila, A's are generally on the end of feminine nouns. Sometimes you will have something besides an A or an O on the end. I will get to that further on in the video about how to decide about those, about how to memorize those rules. We have el reloj. El reloj. Sounds like an O at the end, right? The J is silent. El cuaderno. La carpeta. El bolígrafo. La pluma. So you're wondering, which one should I use? Well, you can use either one. A lot of these words that I'm going to teach you in class, we'll talk about the stories in class. But for example, la pluma, there's a story behind that word. It's easy to remember because what did George Washington use for a pen? He used a plume, which is a big feather. He dipped in the inkwell. Now you can remember the pen is pluma. El estudiante. Could we say la estudiante for female students? Yes. El salón. La sala de clase. La computadora. La silla. El calendario. La luz. El papel. El lápiz. La tarea. El examen. El maestro. La maestra. So that is the male teacher and then the female teacher. Sacar una buena nota. These at the bottom here are the two verbs. Hablar. Remember that H is silent. H's at the beginning are silent. Here we have our viewing guide that you have a copy of from class. Try to fill it out. If you need to go back to the previous slide, go ahead and rewind. These words right here. Which word is it? El reloj, la mochila, el lápiz, el libro. Okay, la mochila. This lady here, who's that? El reloj, la silla, el lápiz, la maestra. Well, we know, since she's female, that it's got to be either B or D. So what about la maestra? How can you remember that word? So you're probably familiar with the word maestro, which is the person that does the conducting and the symphony. And he is the master of the symphony. He's directing everyone and telling them what to do. That is where that word comes from, maestra, because she is leading the class and conducting, telling everyone what to do at different times. Always remember it that way. So here we have enseñar, sacar una buena nota, el lápiz, hablar, sacar una buena nota. El calendario, la mochila, el reloj, el libro, el calendario. El reloj, la pizarra, el lápiz, el mapa. El reloj, la mochila, el lápiz, el bolígrafo. El bolígrafo. We've already gone over how to say the in Spanish because of el and la going before each noun, and it's already been determined whether each noun is female or male. So now we have to figure out how to say un or una. They have a and an in English that is determined by the initial sound of the noun, whether it is a vowel sound or not. In Spanish, they don't have that. They decide whether it's a female or a male noun, and so that's, or a masculine noun. And that's why in English, the a and the an are determined by the initial sound of the noun, whether it's a vowel sound or not. But in Spanish, the rule is entirely different. It has nothing to do with which sound comes next. It has to do with whether it's a masculine or feminine noun. In Spanish, all nouns have a gender, which means they can be feminine or masculine. We talked about this. La casa is a good example, the house, and el toro. That's a good example, the bull. So languages, days of the week, mountains, rivers, and oceans are all masculine. Some nouns are identical in form, and we know the gender only when we see the article in front of it. As we did before, we've got el or la estudiante, el or la joven, which is a teenager. We've got el or la modelo, an example, el la pianista, so the pianist. Some nouns can change meaning with a change in gender. One funny one is el papa and la papa, being the difference between the pope and a potato. Let's decide whether these are feminine or masculine. El calendario, which one is it? Masculine. La luz, la, feminine. El reloj, el, masculine. El borrador, el, masculine. El cuaderno, masculine. El papel, masculine. El libro, masculine. So there really was only one. You will see a whole bunch of nouns that end in letters other than A or O. What we've done here is made an acronym of loners. The O we know goes with masculine. So if they end in L, N, E, R, or S, then it's going to be masculine. It'll end in D, yon. For example, frustración, televisión. You can remember me because I like to watch a lot of televisión, and I'm feminine, so you can always remember that. So anything basically with sion at the end is going to be feminine. So we've got Z and A. Of course, you already knew about the A. Of course, as in any language, there are exceptions. Of course, as in any language, there are exceptions. The words in yellow are the ones that we're going to be learning in Spanish 1. The non-highlighted, la foto, la mano, la mano. You're asking, why is it an exception? Okay, well, let's look at it. We've got an O there, so you would normally think masculine, right? But it's feminine. La. You got an O here, and then you're thinking, well, it's masculine, but then there's the A, the la mano. All right, so now let's go down and find something that is, oh, here we go. We're going across. El día. So you've got an A at the end, so you're thinking it's feminine, but then you've got the el up front, so they're like, oh, it's masculine. So which one is it? It goes with the L or la up front. So let's say these together. La foto, la foto, la mano, la mano, la capital, la capital, la piel, la piel, la sal, el día, el agua, el clima, el problema, el lápiz, el arroz, el maíz. Every time you hear this guy say no problemo, it's actually wrong, because he should be saying no problema. So the general rule says that we have to add an S on the end of noun, right? For example, like cat turns into cats. That's the same thing we have in Spanish. Nouns ending in consonants and Y, we add ES. Amor, amore. So this is like my love, and this is my loves. So we've got a test and we've got test. Nouns ending in Z have plural CES. We've already talked about lápiz in class, pencil, but if you have two pencils, look, The Z turns into a C. Lápices. We've also talked about nose in class. Nariz with a Z at the end turns into narices. This is your chart at the end, so that if you need to stay on this while you finish some of your work, that's fine. Here we have so here are your ticket out the door questions that you are going to write down the code for. Choose the correct article. Maestra. Well, we have an A at the end, so it's pretty much always going to be la. Choose the correct article. Libro. Well, it has an O at the end, so you're pretty much always going to choose el. Choose the correct article. Bolígrafos. So you see an OS at the end, and you're going to have an OS. So that would be C. Choose the correct article. So we've got libro, and we've got el libro. It's masculine. La clase. La clase. Las mochilas. Las mochilas. Okay, so lección. Let's say you have piano lessons. Lección. What would you say? La lección. Remember ción, right? So, like televisión, lección. So you know it's female. Las luces. Las luces. This is one of those with the Z that changes to a CES. Las maestras. Is that correct or is it incorrect? That would be correct because see the AS here matches the AS here. La muchacho. Is that correct or incorrect? La muchacho. It's incorrect because you have an O here, so you would need to have an L here. So you need a masculine article here. So it's incorrect. Unless it's one of the very rare exceptions, you're going to have an O here and an L here. So it should be El Muchacho. Here are some other links that you can use to further your study. Adios!